Hey everyone, I'm Nadine and welcome to Bookish Nook. Today I thought I would do a new kind of video series, and that is an author review instead of book reviews. So there are a few authors that I've read every single book that they've published because I love their writing style and everything that the author is able to incorporate in their books. So there are a few authors that I've read every single one of them. So I figured in the next few videos that I'll be posting, I'll be doing a review of the author and sort of showcasing all the books that she's read that I've read to maybe sort of introduce you to the author if you've never read them or other books that you haven't read by them. So the first author that I will be doing an author review is Hopkins. Now, many of you might know her for her very unique writing style, and she writes in poem form. So when I first started reading her books, I was so intrigued by it being in poem form because I've never read a book like that, and that's what really pulled me in to start reading her books. So you're probably wondering, what does poem form mean? Are they a stylized poem? Do they rhyme? Do they have a certain pace that they set? And no, they're more like free poems. There's no rhyming scheme. It's not like iambic pentameter where words are stressed. It's really informal, and it's so easy to just slip into the mind of the character, their personality, everything. It's perfect. So to give you an example, this is from probably her most known book, is Crank, which follows a girl with methamphetamines. So on the back, as you can see, there's the little poem. So just read it to you really quick. Life was good before I met the monster. After life was great, at least for a little while. This is the first book that I've ever read by her, and I think that the story is based on her daughter. I think I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that it's her daughter. And it follows, it's from her daughter's perspective, and you sort of just lose yourself in the world of methamphetamines. It is a super fast read because the pages aren't very long, but you'll be surprised at how fast you go through it. I was, at least. The second book to Crank is Glass, which continues to follow the same girl's perspective, and you just watch how her life spirals out of control because of methamphetamines. Once again, this is written in poem form, and I also just love the covers. I think they're really great in their simplicity, and I thought they were a little corny when I first got them, but I actually really have come to love them because they're just so different and unique. And the last book in this, I think it's a trilogy or a series, I'm not really sure what she would call it, but it is Fallout. Now this one is from different people's perspective from the first two, and it's exactly what it is, the fallout of her life. And you see how her life, addicted to methamphetamines, has impacted those around her. These books are a fantastic deterrent if you do not want I don't know, a friend or a daughter or a niece to fall into this drug world, because her life is not a good one at all, and it's really sad to just sort of watch her life fall apart and to know that it's actually a true story. Another book by her is Identical. This is probably my favorite book that she's written. It took me by surprise, and I was so happy with it. This is about two twins who are each harboring different kind of secrets. They vary in intensity, and one of them has to save the other. And you'll be pleasantly surprised about what happens. I don't want to give too much away because you should definitely just go into this blind knowing that they're two identical sisters and they have secrets. Tricks by Hopkins follows sort of the sex trade, and it follows 5 different perspectives. And what's nice about them is that they're easily labeled, and you can easily distinguish between who. And what I've really liked about this book is that most books follow heterosexual relationships. This one follows heterosexual and homosexual relationships and different kind of issues surrounding those in prostitution and sort of flirting the line between prostitution and not. So this was a fantastic book. Once again, this is the issues are very, ones that aren't really spoken about in public, very taboo, just like all her other topics in her book. So it's explicit. The next book is Burned. Now this follows a girl who's raised in a religious family but is abused. Once again, you can see the topics coming out of her books. Apparently Smoke is the second one to it. I have not read it yet. I've been meaning to reread Burned because it's been a while and I can't even remember the story before I read Smoke. Once again, this is in poem form as well, and I remember not liking it as much as the other ones, but I don't think I really understood the message and the story behind in the actual book because I didn't read it when I don't think I was old enough to really fully comprehend the message. The next book is Impulse, and this one is about suicide. This was a really tough book to get through because of how real and depressing it is. You know, it confronts a topic head on that is really not, I guess, discussed in books and not really talked about because it's such a depressing topic. What I like most about her books is that she has real insight into these issues that she talks about in her book that the characters are facing. And it's sad that she has this insight because no one should really have to deal with these kind of topics and these issues, but they do happen, and it's really nice to get a real perspective and not something that you think happens when you go through something. This is actually real. And I think that Perfect goes along with Impulse. I think it's characters that you kind of see in the background of this one that Perfect follows. And once again, it follows the subject of suicide. Now there's a little blurb at the end of the sort of book description that sums up what this book is really about. And it's really easy to identify with this, so I'll just read the 2 sentences really quick. Everyone wants to be perfect, but when perfection loses its meaning, how far will you go? What will you give up to be perfect? Now, these books are really fantastic for the sort of high school or going into high school phase because they deal with these topics that you face in high school. What would you do to be perfect? What would you do to get that guy to notice you or to become friends with the popular people? This book deals with that head on. Now, Ellen Hopkins also writes adult books. She has 2 adult books, which I'm going to jump into the first one because the second one is tied to a young adult book. So the first one is Collateral. Now this is probably my least favorite Ellen Hopkins book because I couldn't identify and appreciate the story because I don't know anyone who's been to the military, so I don't know what it's like. I haven't experienced firsthand someone who's gone to the military that I love, and I get these little letters that are edited and stuff like that. Once again, Abby Glines really was able to put you into that mindset though. Finishing this book, I felt like I knew someone who went to the military and everything, my life fell apart because of it. If you've ever experienced this thing, having a soldier go away to war that you love, you will definitely enjoy this book because it is fantastic, and it also deals with PTSD, which is a lot of soldiers go through, and sort of the aggression and negativity that they harbor when they come back, and she deals with it with precision and clarity, once again showing her insight knowledge into this world. Her second adult book is Triangles. Now this is probably another one of my favorites, up there with Crank, because it deals with marriage and cheating and all that stuff surrounding being in an unhappy marriage and what it happens to the relationship itself, how the people change, and it was fantastic. This was incredibly explicit as well as Collateral. This one was far more explicit, so if you don't like that kind of thing, do not read this because this is an adult book and it is in the adult section. But this one was definitely fantastic. Just the characters, she gives a meaning to cheating, and I know that that's horrible and everything, but the situations that these characters go through, you can't help but feel sympathy and be able to identify with that kind of feeling. Now, the young adult book that goes with this one is Tilt, and it follows the children in this story in this one. So you see the progression of the children sort of in Triangles, but then it's completely brought out through this one. So once again, I'm going to read you a little bit of the blurb because whoever writes these is fantastic because they really sum up without giving away anything. So, witnessing the fallout from the poor choices their parents make and the lies adult tells himself, 3 teens are clinging to the last remnants of a secure world in which they've grown up. So, this one is another one of my favorites. It really deals with multiple different topics at the same time because everyone says that a divorce affects the children the most, and this is a clear example of it. So those are all the Ellen Hopkins books that she has published up to date. I've read all of them except one, and they are my favorite. I always buy her books when they come out without even reading the synopsis or anything about it because I know that I'll love it. Her books are very explicit in their content, so if you're reading them expecting something that is polished in a sense that the issues are addressed but in a sort of glittery, non-real way, that is not what you're getting with these books. You're getting the hard truth, and I think that is a fantastic medium to get to kids. I always recommend these books when some of my parents' friends ask what they want their young daughters or sons to read, and I always push them towards Ellen Hopkins because her books just deal with the sort of things that high school students are going through in a way that shows them that it's not okay and it is always okay to get help. So Ellen Hopkins has another book coming out, a young adult book called Rumble, and the expected release date is 2014 according to Goodreads. And this book surrounds religious beliefs and faith and what they do to relationships and how they can affect relationships. That's what I've gathered from the little blurb on Goodreads. If you've read only a few of her books and never continued, I urge you to continue on with her different books because they all offer something unique and different, and it's fantastic. If you've never heard of her or read any of her books, I urge you to go on. Depending on what topic you're interested in, you just have to go find a synopsis of her books and find which topic interests you the most. I hope that you enjoyed this video and it gave you some insight into what I like to read, and I hope I turned you on to a new author because she is one of my favorites. Now, if you've actually read any of these books, comment down below what you thought of them. I'd love to hear your opinion. Bye!